All right, week 10 of The Bachelor, Fantasy Suites week. As a new viewer, I've walked away with more questions than I have answers. But first, on a serious note, I want to talk a little bit about Matt's interaction with his dad. So Matt's wants to get engaged, wants to get married, and in order to get himself psychologically and emotionally in a place where he can do that, he wants to deal with the fact that his dad wasn't present during his childhood. So he brings his dad in and confronts him. And dad does his best, I think, to meet the mood or have that conversation, but he doesn't do a good job of it, right? Dad wasn't ready for that conversation, and he's pretty dismissive, in my eyes, dismissive of what Matt had gone through. He said, hey, look, Matt, I also didn't have a father. Hey, look, Matt, look how well you turned out. You know, hey, we're not all perfect. And Matt has to really hold his feet to the fire to get his dad to say, okay, I'm sorry. And then just the way it was edited, it shifted right to, Dad, I love you. I want you in my life. I want you in my kid's life. I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. Which is where I just want to sort of pause and say, just in my experience as a therapist working with people that have been neglected or abused, it never turns out that way. People spend their whole lives looking for that apology. And as parents get older, the apologies do come. That you do get that moment. And I would just tell you that it always comes up short. It never meets or scratches the itch that people want. And so I just didn't like the way it was edited because it looked like, oh, Dad just said sorry and Matt's ready to resume a relationship with him. And I just guarantee you, realistically, those two are not ready to move forward in a healthy relationship unless they dive into a lot of work together. And I'm not sure that Matt or his dad are going to engage in that. So just like a little bit of reality testing there, I think that was over edited. Now moving on to the fun fantasy suites. I mean, it was exactly what you kind of think it's going to be, except for I didn't realize that he spent the whole night with them, which made me think, all right, so he's going on a date, then he sleeps with them, I assume, at night, and then he wakes up in the morning, I assume they have sex again, and then he goes I assume he just takes a shower and then goes right into the next date. I assume sex again. I mean, that's a hell of a week for Matt. And then I was thinking, like, does that put too much of a burden on Matt? And then is the experience that, in this case, woman number 3, Rachel, is her experience with him a little bit different than the experience that Michelle gets? And I just wondered, like, what is there drama behind the scenes around that? And also, how does the show protect itself from somebody getting pregnant or STD? I mean, are they just handing out if they're handing out condoms, or I'm not sure what they do, but I just have more questions about that than I thought that I would. Anyway, he goes through this, and then it moves to the rose ceremony, which is where I shifted from having fun with it to feeling bad about it. So in this rose ceremony, Bree does not get a rose, and she's devastated about it because just 2 days ago she slept with this guy, presumably. She told him he loved her. She told him she told him that she loved him, and he didn't say I love you back, but he did make out with her, which is his like standard pattern. You tell him you love him, and he makes out with you, which sort of suggests that he's on board. She's ready to marry this guy, and that's the reason why she sleeps with him. But I assume that he knew he wasn't going to choose her all along, right? Like it feels a little bit insincere, like he allowed her to sleep with him under the pretense of potentially him picking her, or that she thought she was going to be selected, and then he didn't pick her. And I just wonder if she feels like she was fooled by him and taken advantage of by him. It just feels grimy to me. I wonder if anybody, I've not read or heard anybody else complain about that. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I'm looking forward to next week, the finale. It should be fun.